Why hello there friends, it's Emma here, the Bookish Princess. Today's video is a 2-for-1. I have a read-along announcement and also a book haul. I have right here a stack of some wonderful spiritual, theological books. If you're familiar with my channel, you'll know that this is a genre that I really love to read. My Roman Catholic Christian faith is so important to me, and I think diving into what the faithful of the past wrote is just such a beautiful way of connecting to, the community of believers throughout time, to the universal church. Just this past December, the wonderful Christy Lewis from Dostoevsky in Space invited me to co-host an Advent read-along. We read The Man Born to be King by Dorothy Sayers, which was just a wonderful experience. And it's hard to believe it, but the next liturgical season, Lent, leading up to Easter, is almost upon us. It begins February 22nd. And so Christy reached out and said, hey, would you want to do a Lenten read-along? And I said, well, I actually recently bought some spiritual books that I haven't dipped into yet. Maybe we could read one of these. So I gave her a kind of rundown. The one that we went with was The Cloud of Unknowing. So this is actually by a anonymous 14th century mystic. So we don't even know the name of the author. This translation is by William Johnston. I believe there's another well-known translation by Evelyn Underhill, which, since this is so long ago, it shouldn't be too difficult to find a copy of it. I'll try to leave an online PDF or online version of it in the description down below. We do have a couple other co-hosts joining us for this Lenten read-along. We have Faith from Faith in Books, and also Victoria from A Musical Bookworm. I'll go ahead and read you the description from the back. The Cloud of Unknowing and the Book of Privy Counseling, so this version has two works in it, are the first explorations in the English language of the soul's quest for God. Written by an anonymous 14th century mystic, The Cloud of Unknowing expresses with beauty a message that has inspired such great religious thinkers as St. John of the Cross and Teilhard de Chardin, as well as countless others in search of God. Offering a practical guide to the life of contemplation, the author explains that ordinary thoughts and earthly concepts must be buried beneath a cloud of forgetting, while our love must rise towards a God hidden in the cloud of unknowing. I actually had not heard of this book. I found it at the bookstore, and it just had a beautiful cover. These image classics, this series of books are so lovely, and I picked it up, and this hasn't happened all that often to me, considering the amount of books I've read and how much I love to read. But as I opened up the introduction, it felt like the author, this 14th century mystic, just reached right out from the pages and grabbed me by the shoulder and was like, hey, you should read this and buy it. I'm talking to you. So I was like, okay, I guess I have no choice here. So I thought a fun way to tell you guys about the book, which I don't actually know much about it myself, but a fun way to let you decide if you are meant to read it is to read you the foreword, the introduction, and see if it grabs you. The foreword of the book starts with a prayer. O God, unto whom all hearts lie open, unto whom desire is eloquent, and from whom no secret thing is hidden, purify the thoughts of my heart by the outpouring of your Spirit, that I may love you with a perfect love and praise you as you deserve. Amen. And then it begins. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Whoever you are possessing this book, know that I charge you with a serious responsibility, to which I attach the sternest sanctions that the bonds of love can bear. It does not matter whether this book belongs to you, whether you are keeping it for someone else, whether you are taking it to someone or borrowing it. You are not to read it, write or speak of it, nor allow another to do so unless you really believe that he is a person deeply committed to follow Christ perfectly. I have in mind a person who, over and above the good works of the active life, has resolved to follow Christ, as far as is humanly possible with God's grace, into the inmost depths of contemplation. Do your best to determine if he is one who has first been faithful for some time to the demands of the active life, for otherwise he will not be prepared to fathom the contents of this book. Moreover, I charge you with love's authority, if you do give this book to someone else, warn them, as I warn you, to take the time to read it thoroughly. For it is very possible that certain chapters do not stand by themselves, but require the explanation given in other chapters to complete their meaning. I fear lest a person read only some parts and quickly fall into error. To avoid a blunder like this, I beg you and anyone else reading this book, for love's sake, to do as I ask. As for worldly gossips, flatterers, the scrupulous, talebearers, busybodies, and the hypercritical, I would just as soon they never laid eyes on this book. I had no intention of writing for them, and prefer that they do not meddle with it. This applies also to the merely curious, educated or not. They may be good people by the standards of the active life, but this book is not suited to their needs. However, there are some presently engaged in the active life who are being prepared by grace to grasp the message of this book. I am thinking of those who feel the mysterious action of the Spirit in their inmost being stirring them to love. I do not say that they continually feel this stirring, as experienced contemplatives do, but now and again they taste something of contemplative love in the very core of their being. Should such folk read this book, I believe they will be greatly encouraged and reassured. I have divided this work into 75 chapters. The last one deals more specifically with the signs which indicate whether or not a person is being called to contemplative prayer. Isn't that quite a foreword? Like, the author's personality, it just feels like he's right there talking to you. He's so sincere and earnest and wants his book to get to the right person. He told us not to just dip into the chapters, but to read them in order. So I guess I will refrain from reading you some excerpts, because I did kind of read a couple excerpts just to see what to expect. But I'm going to go back and start from the beginning. If you want to do this read along as a devotional throughout Lent, it seems like most of the translations end up being about 100 pages. So if you read about 3 pages a day, 2 or 3 pages a day, that will take you through Lent. We are going to do a book club discussion, a video chat call with anyone interested after Easter. We're thinking it'll be Saturday, April 15th, I believe at 1 p.m. Eastern. And if you're already part of my Bookish Kingdom book club, we're going to kind of wrap it into that. So I'll be emailing out the link to the Google Meet book club discussion on April 15th. If you are not on my book club email list yet, just send me an email, Emma@bookishprincess.com, and I'll make sure I add you to it so that you can join us for this Cloud of Unknowing discussion the week after Easter. I think we're going to try to do some reading sprints on Christy's channel at some point throughout Lent. It's kind of a longer season than Advent, because it starts February 22nd on Ash Wednesday, and of course it stretches to, I think Easter is April 9th. So yes, it's a pretty slim book, and actually this is, like I said, 2 books, The Cloud of Unknowing and the Book of Privy Counseling. Should be a good Lenten practice to read throughout the season. If you participated in the Advent read-along, hopefully you'll be able to join us for the Lenten read-along. And then I thought I would go ahead and quickly show you the other books. So I bought these at the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception in Washington, D.C. This is an absolutely stunning church, surely one of the most stunning churches in the United States of America. It has so many chapels off the sides, and the dome is just absolutely stunning, and the mosaics and the windows and the art and the sculptures. It's really a beautiful, beautiful place to wander around if you ever get the chance to visit. I know my family, especially during the pandemic, we loved watching their online mass. They have a 30-minute version that they do down in the crypt, and then they have the full mass that they have in the main church. And they're both so wonderful. If you're a Catholic who's thinking of going back to Mass, or if you're thinking of becoming Catholic or interested in Mass, maybe watching it on their YouTube channel would be a great place to start. I'll leave it linked in the description down below, but just the homilies are always so good. The music is beautiful. Oftentimes the cantor is a woman named Crossley, and when we went to the shrine in person, we did get to go to the beautiful Sunday Mass in the main church, and Crossley was part of the choir, so it was kind of exciting to see a face we recognized. It was also incredible to actually go down into the crypt in person. The main church is just stunning and is almost too much to take in, and then the crypt has a magic of its own. It's really an extraordinary space. Anyway, also downstairs, there are 2 gift shops, and one of them is full of books. And there had been a number of spiritual books I'd been thinking of buying. So I thought to myself, well, why buy them on Amazon? I should give the shrine, the National Shrine, my business. So I let myself have a little bit of a splurge. One book I don't have with me because I gave it to my dad for Christmas, but they did have a book about the National Shrine and all the art and all the different chapels. So I bought that for him, and maybe I'll borrow it at some point because it would be fun to learn more about all the different art in the Basilica. And then this book, you guys will already have seen. I read it during Advent. It's called True Devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary by St. Louis Louis de Montfort. He wrote this in 1712, and it is, you know, what the title says, just a beautiful devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary. St. Louis de Montfort just has such beautiful reflections on Mary and her place in God's plan and her place in our own prayer lives and how much she loves us. So definitely would recommend this one. And then there was another Image Classics that I bought. This one was by Teresa of Avila. It's called The Way of Perfection. I've read Interior Castle by Teresa of Avila. She's one of my favorite saints, but I haven't read The Way of Perfection yet. Written at the height of the controversy surrounding the reforms Teresa instituted in the Carmelite order, it instructed the nuns in the practice of prayer. Teresa discusses the three essentials of a prayer-filled life: fraternal love, detachment from material things, and true humility. Her counsels on these are the fruit of her practical experience. One of my favorite prayers was written by St. Teresa of Avila. It's, let nothing disturb me, let nothing dismay me. All things pass, God never changes. He who has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices, which is a beautiful prayer. So I'm very much looking forward to reading more of Teresa of Avila at some point. I haven't gotten into all these books yet. Yeah, the True Devotion I read for Advent, and now this one I will read in Lent, but I'm gonna have to find time to squeeze the rest of these in. I've been wanting for a while to buy a copy of Hildegard of Bingen Scivias. These are her visions. She's one of the doctors of the church. She lived probably not too far in time from the Cloud of Unknowing author. Now, a couple centuries earlier, she was a 12th century German nun, mystic, prophet, and political moralist. She was widely consulted as an oracle and wrote prolifically on doctrinal matters as well as on secular matters like medicine. And she has some beautiful music as well. She was really just an all-around amazing person. Scivias is her major religious work, 26 visions set down literally as she saw them and then explained exegetically. I did read some of these back in college, but I'd like to revisit them at some point. I owned some other classics of Western spirituality by this Paulist press, and it's kind of funny because the rest of them are all super ratty used editions that I bought as a student. So this is like the shiniest and one of the nicest classics of Western spirituality on my shelf. And then last but not least, this is by G.K. Chesterton. It's called Man Alive, a comic novel by G.K. Chesterton about murder, bigamy, burglary, insanity, and truth, beauty, and the goodness of life. I really loved G.K. Chesterton's Poet and the Lunatics. I don't think there's a recently published version of that, but I really want to get a copy of that for my bookshelf because I thought it was wonderful. And not too long ago, I read Napoleon of Notting Hill, which is also excellent. I really like G.K. Chesterton's fiction, especially these like lesser known fictions. I have read the Father Brown mysteries and The Man Called Thursday. I feel like you hear those more often, but Napoleon of Notting Hill, Poet, and the Lunatics are definitely my top two. So I'm hoping that I'll like this as much as those two. It sounds like it's quirky and deep and interesting in the same way. Beautifully written, mixing the ridiculous with the profound, full of hilarious dialogue and lushly detailed writing. I have to admit, I haven't read as much of G.K. Chesterton's nonfiction writing, which of course he's also known for, and when I have read it, I haven't cared too much for it. I actually once owned, it was from this same Image Classics series, it was a biography of St. Francis by G.K. Chesterton. And I really disliked it because Chesterton, he seemed to spend the whole time saying, well, other biographers of St. Francis say this, but they're totally wrong. Like, he just had a real chip on his shoulder. At some point, I should give his nonfiction another go. So there we have it. Lots of books to be read at some point, and one definitely going to be reading during Lent. Really looking forward to this read along with Christy and the other co-hosts. If you're planning on joining us, let me know down in the comments below. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Until then, stay bookish. Bye.